conservative Catholic commentary, I would say. But of those that I heard, they were ignoring the elephant in the room. Why do most Catholics not believe in the real presence? It's because we're not acting like it in our liturgies. And, the famous or infamous phrase, lex orandi, lex credendi, the law of prayer is the law of belief, is a teaching on
pulverized over the last half century. It is no surprise that many religious have walked away and become disenchanted. It's no surprise that young people have run away. This is why you're seeing a huge spike in the traditional Latin Mass, which I attend, and I'll tell you something, the median age at that Mass is about 25 years old. They've all got 12 kids somehow. I don't even know how it's possible. It's packed to the gills. You have to show up a half an hour early to have a hope of getting a seat, and then you go into the places where the liturgy has been adapted to the spirit of our age. And what happens? When you marry the spirit of the age, you find yourself a widow in the next. And that's all you find in those churches is widows. The median age is probably 96, and there are 5 people in there anyway. Young people, they don't want soft soap and wishful thinking and acoustic guitars. They want the truth. They're going to be attracted to the places that give them the truth and that elevate them up into a mystical vision of heaven itself.
Talking to my grandfather, and he was a regular guy. He's like, well, this is the church I go to, and if it's in Latin, I go in Latin. If it's in English, I go in English, whatever. But I was talking to him about tradition and the experience of him growing up in the Latin Mass, and I went out and found one. And when I went there and I attended that first Mass, the realization had been almost like I was an orphan. I was an orphan that had been raised by a poor family in meager circumstances, and I had found out that I was actually the secret child of the king. And
yes.
I had that this whole kingdom was mine, and that I had been living in poverty my whole life around, the liturgical celebration. That was my experience, and I'm like, how it edified me was so superior and significant to what I had been experiencing in the Novus Ordo.
If I were to go to Costco and go to one of the guys who's giving out the samples, and let's just say he's giving out crackers that day, and when I go to him, I fall down on my knees and I just stick out my tongue in order for him to put the cracker on my tongue. Everyone will stare at me. Okay, so people who say, "Well, like it's okay, it's all about interior belief. External practices don't matter that much," I would tell them, "Look, you're communicating something. Okay, I'm a communications major. There's verbal communication and there's non-verbal communication. And children, like you mentioned, they're watching everything. And when a child sees that their dad or their mom grabs our Lord the same way they grab a cracker off of the little sample stand at Costco, then intellectually they don't make a difference. Versus, like you mentioned, there's only one time that we fall down on our knees and stick out our tongues to receive something.
It's penance. So the problem becomes like, you hear these people say, well, I don't like that kind of music. Why don't you like it? Well, it's not vibrant. It's not life-giving. So what you mean is it's not emotionally satisfying to my desires. And because it's not emotionally satisfying to my desires, it's therefore illegitimate. Then the question becomes, is that the point of the liturgy? Right? The liturgy should not, now your personal devotional prayer life should be that thing. It should be like clicking with you. But the liturgy is something different. You should be clicking with it. And that's the fundamental problem that I don't think a lot of Catholics understand, because they haven't been exposed to enough really solid traditional liturgy.
Is different than my faith. And it's like, not necessarily, right? The way you worship is going to influence the way that you believe, and that's something that we can't take out of the picture. The way that you worship is going to influence the way that you believe. So if we're going through a decline in faith right now, if we're seeing people in the Catholic Church, leaving for other denominations, it's simply a sign that we're not maintaining our faith. And how do we restore belief? It's by restoring the way that we worship. It shouldn't be, rocket science. The way that we worship influences the way that we believe. Public worship is supposed to give public testimony. And if when we come before God, the focus is on us. It's on the people. And this is a very simple thing, such as Ad Orientem, but it makes such a big impact, right? Because again, there's no other place that you go and look at a podium and the person on that podium is not looking at you. There's